DJI having a power station just makes sense. Earlier this year, we reviewed the DJI Power 1000 when it was first released, and now we finally have our hands on the little brother, the much more affordable DJI Power 500. We all know that DJI is a really sick brand, and this could be an awesome unit for creators on the go or someone that's just looking for light emergency power. So welcome back to the lab. You guys know here our opinions cannot be bought. We did have a really good experience with the Power 1000, so we do have some high expectations for the Power 500. There are some things that we don't like about the Power 500, but we ran it through some testing and we want to share our thoughts. But before we get into any of that, we want to hit you guys with a super quick 60-second overview of the specs of this guy for anyone that is not already familiar. First up, this thing passes the tiny baby lift test. It weighs 16 pounds. He can not only lift this, he could throw it to Australia. It has a 512 watt-hour battery bank. That means you could run the fridge in your house for like 24 hours. You could run your router for 39 hours. It's got a 1000 watt output. And when it comes to putting power back into this thing, you can charge it with just a regular 120 volt plug in your house. And you can also charge it with solar or with a car adapter. When it comes to ports, this guy has two 120 volt house plugs right here on the front. You have two USB-Cs, which are actually 100 watts. And then you have two USB-As, which are only 24 watts. You have the SDC light port, which is really cool if you have a DJI drone. This guy right here allows you to fast charge straight out of that port. It also doubles as the solar input, which is a little weird. And then right here, you have your connection for your AC wall plug if you're gonna charge it directly from the house, as well as a little switch to choose if you wanna charge it slow or if you wanna charge it fast. The screen, we absolutely love. DJI did a really nice job of making these screens really clean and easy to look at and understand. We really like that. And you can buy this thing for $499, but we've actually seen it on DJI's store for as low as $349. So at that point, this is a pretty good purchase. Jumping into some of the things that we really like about this tiny little Power 500, starting with the fact that it is extremely quiet. The only thing that even comes close to how quiet this is either the Power 1000, good job DJI, you guys did a good job on those, or the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra, which is like a $6,000 power station. And we like that because this is kind of designed for creators. You could have this charging camera batteries, charging your drone, doing whatever, right in the same room as you, like right over here behind the camera, and it wouldn't even make enough noise that it interferes with your shot or anything like that. Especially when it comes to smaller power stations, we've never had our hands on a small one that doesn't just make a load of noise. We also really like that all the plugs and ports are right here on the front. A lot of other power stations, you'll have some on the front, then you'll have some on the back, and you'll have a few on the side. Everything is in the front, so you could slide this into like the back seat of your car or under a bunch of stuff. You could have this just stacked in a heap of and you can still run power into it. You can run power out of it. You can access everything just from the front, which might not seem as useful right now looking at it, but in a real life application, it's a huge pro. We also like that it does have the SDC light port. So if you have certain compatible DJI products, devices, drones, that kind of stuff, you can fast charge them directly out of this unit using this port right here, which is just a cool feature. It keeps everything in the ecosystem kind of feeling compatible. And the last two things we like are that this is affordable and you don't really have to compromise much except battery bank size to get that affordability. The Power 1000 has the same two 120 volt plugs. It has the same four USB-C plugs. The only thing the Power 1000 gets that this doesn't is two of the SDC light ports. You're not losing a ton of functionality when you downgrade, which is really nice. And finally, we just really like that this has a 1000 watt rated output, which is basically double the 500 watt hour battery bank. So not only can you easily charge like phones and drones and laptops and studio lights and whatever you want from this, but this could run an entire portable air conditioner if you wanted it to. Like it can put out a lot of power, which is just really nice because aside from the day-to-day use of charging camera batteries and drones and whatever, if the power goes out, you could run something like this Aurzen projector for over 7 hours off of a single charge. So shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Aurzen. Aurzen is a company that we actually use here at the lab every single day, and we truly enjoy their products. And this is their latest Eazze D1 projector. This is an all-in-one projector, which means it has Netflix, Prime Video, and YouTube all accessible directly from the unit, and it even comes with a Roku-style remote for easy access. It's an extremely small and portable, versatile little unit when compared to some of the other ones on the market, and it is packed with a ton of cool features. First off, this has a Dolby audio system in it. It has two 8-watt speakers, ensuring that every sound is crisp and clear. It is super easy to set up. It features an autofocus and a keystone correction automatically. You don't have to do anything to get this thing leveled and focused up against your wall. Of course, it has a super high quality 1080p resolution, and it's just built with care. Even the fans right here that run to keep this thing cool have little cleanable, replaceable cartridges to make sure that you're not shoving dust and crap into the projector. At only $99, this thing is honestly an unbelievable deal. If you want to check it out, we have some links in the description down below. Make sure you guys do so. Otherwise, shout out to Aurzen for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the Power 500. Like we do with all of our power stations here at the lab, we ran this thing through some pretty basic standard testing to find out how well it performs. And the first test that we ran was efficiency. So this is a 512 watt-hour battery bank. If you were to run a 100-watt heated sleeping blanket, it would only last about 5 hours if it was 100% efficient, but nothing ever is. Since this inverter is rated for 1,000 watts, we ran a 905-watt load, so we were just under the max of the inverter. The inverter was working hard, the fans were running. That's when it's gonna be its least efficient. Theoretically, this should have lasted 33 minutes running that 905-watt load. It actually lasted 27, which makes this thing about 79% efficient at almost the max of the inverter, which is pretty good. It actually scored a little bit better than the Power 1000 did in our testing. And when it comes to getting power into this, we tested it using just the 120 volt plug. You plug it directly into an outlet in your house. It advertises a full charge in 70 minutes, and this thing went from absolutely dead to 100% full in an hour and 23 minutes, which is pretty good. Those 13 minutes more than advertised. When it comes to the surge rating, that's just important because it only can put out 1,000 watts of power. If you were to run more than that, it's not gonna last for a long time, but if you plug in something that just spikes to turn on and then it comes back down, it will do that, but not for long. So we tested it with 1,500 watts, and it actually was able to run 1,500 watts for a couple seconds, which was more than I expected out of a small little unit like this. When it comes to the sound test, as we already said, this thing is extremely quiet. The solar input on this unit also works, but it needs adapters and just annoying that we'll touch on later. And when it comes to pass through, it works with both solar and AC, just basically meaning if you're charging your laptop off one of these plugs and you notice the power station is starting to die, you can put power back into the power station. It'll charge your laptop, and then the rest of the power will go to the batteries to charge it up. So when it comes to the list of things that we don't like about the Power 500, the first one that drives me absolutely nuts is that it comes with no accessories. It came with a wall plug, so you could plug this into the wall and charge it, but that's it. Most other power stations that you can get, the companies include solar adapters, so you can plug it into solar panels. They include wall plugs. They include all kinds of adapters and tiny little bits and pieces. It just makes it a little bit easier to kind of start using the unit. Really. So we had some adapters that we had from when we got the Power 1000, but if not, you know, the price tag on this ends up starting to rise because now you need to start to buy solar adapters and all that kind of stuff. And like we were just talking about with the testing, to get the 300 watts into this, you actually have to buy a little adapter that bolts onto the side. It allows you to plug 3 100-watt solar panels into it. We have an adapter that's a single, so we were able to plug 100 watts of solar into it, and of course it worked for that, but we weren't actually able to test the max output because we don't have that adapter piece. It just basically makes the unit more expensive. The more you want to do with it, the more money you got to spend. Other power stations, when you buy them, they just come with all the shit that you need to get it going. And on the point of accessories, the solar panels that you can get from DJI are ridiculously expensive. This is kind of a theme with most companies. If you buy panels from EcoFlow or Anker or any of those big brands, they're usually really expensive. DJI sells this in a package with a 100-watt panel. You can actually buy 400-watt panels from other brands for cheaper than their 100-watt panel. Another thing we don't like, especially with a small little unit like this, is there is no light. Something like this, yes, it's kind of designed for creators, but also if the power goes out and you just want to pick this thing up to charge a laptop, run your projector, that kind of stuff, you also have to carry around a phone or something with a flash. It's not a big deal, but I love when power stations include lights. It just makes it way easier. Even if you're just trying to plug stuff in the dark, you can see at least in front of here with a light coming off of it. I'm a big light guy, no light, not cool. We also don't like that DJI does not have an app for this. DJI has an app. I have the app. The app's for drones. That's how I control my drone, but they have the technology. They didn't put out an app for this, which is not a big deal. A small power station like this, you're really not gonna want, like, you don't really need an app, but it's always cool to be able to have this in another room or whatever you wanna do with it, and you can go on the app and you can see how full is it or what it's dispersing or whatever state is going on with this thing from your phone. It'd be cool if we could see an app in the future. And the last thing that I just don't like about the Power 500 is that there's just kind of a lack of ports. Some comparable power stations in this kind of size have more 120 volt house plugs, a couple more USB-Cs, but they also have like a dedicated solar input and a car socket, like a 12 volt car socket. So you can plug in a portable fridge or something like that way easier, and it makes it run way more efficiently. And to kind of go with that point is like this SDC light port is cool. You can fast charge your drone from there, but if you want to plug solar into this, that's the only place you can plug solar in. So now you can't use it to fast charge your drone. If we just had a dedicated solar input plug, we could do both at the same time. Little things like that. If you're not a creator, some of the other power stations in this category do offer you more ports and functionality. At the end of the day, I would recommend this little guy to a friend. There is some downfalls and things that we don't necessarily love, but I think you know who you are if you're looking at a power station like this. And if you're looking at something like this, it's extremely efficient, it's extremely quiet, and it just all around is like a pretty good little unit. It's also got like a million certifications on their website from all kinds of different places and companies that have passed all the components and parts and durability and all that kind of stuff, which doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot to me, but it might mean something really cool to you. This has a ton of certifications. It's a pretty good little unit. If you're okay with the couple of pitfalls that we mentioned, I'd recommend it. There's some links down below if you guys want to check it out or you want to check out the Power 1000. Otherwise, that is all we got for you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.